welcome back to the program. You're watching Morning Thailand with Phai and Golf. Now, Kun Phai, of course, like I promised, a little bit more updates on the weather situation. I think it's safe to say that everybody knows it's getting cold quite a bit, like we feel the cool breeze. However, today is not as bad.
The meteorological department said during this 1 or 2 days, the weather had been a little bit warmer. However, after Christmas, December the 25th, temperatures will be dropping a little bit further due to another cold front from China. So brace for another perfect winter, I guess, for this festive season especially.
Exactly. Now, of course, Kun Chatchai Promler, the Director General of the Department of Disaster Prevention and Mitigation, has already said that as of, since the beginning of the month on the December the 2nd, all the way to now, there has been 27 provinces that declare disaster zones already due to the cold spell that we are facing. In the north, there are 12 provinces altogether, and in the northeast, there's 13 provinces, while the central part of Thailand, especially in Ratburi and Suphanburi provinces, these two are the one that has been declared disaster zones due to the cold spell. At this point, the DDPM is actually trying their best to situate different center that would be able to distribute help for all the local residents that might suffer from the cold spell. And there also a talk about help that coming from the Prime Minister itself, making sure that there would be some doctors or mobile doctors that would be able to get into the remote areas and of course distribute all the help as well as all the clothing for the people. Right now they say that 3 provinces has already received help, especially in Chiang Mai, Loi, as well as Nakhon Ratchasima. However, another things to be watched out for during this time due to the fact that with the cold spell is actually the dryness in the air. So a lot of areas that situated next to the forest, they are looking out for the forest fire as well that might have happened. Now they say that for the Phukradung National Park, yesterday they have seen about 4 degrees Celsius, a little bit cold weather of course, and they have seen quite a bit of a frost around the area itself. So at this point inside the province, they are declaring at least 18 districts in the province as disaster zones already as well as in Kalasin province that has been declared disaster zone as well. Now they say that inศรีสะเกษ province, due to the fact that it's actually situated next to Cambodia, somehow the situation, the weather in the area is actually a little bit cooler than the other northeastern provinces. And they say that at this point in Surin province, for example, some of the schools would have to take their students out and study out in the sun, in the open, because it was so cold. So at this point, they once again, like I said, a lot of blankets has been distributed to various areas. Now, another interesting point is that the Army Chief Prayut Chan-o-cha has also voiced concerns, especially for not just for the weather itself, but also for all the motorists that might be traveling during starting from December the 27th all the way to January the 2nd, to be very, very careful on the road condition, as well as the motorists will be provided help in terms of a rest area, as well as the police will actually providing drinks or any types of, I guess, energy drinks to boost all the driver, make sure that they alert enough to actually remain on the road. So at this time, not just the cold weather to look out for, make sure that you prepare yourself if you're going to have a long distance drive as well.
And about the people who had been suffering the cold weather conditions in the provinces, there are a lot of organizations that open for donations, not just money, but also warm clothing that will go to the people in the further district.
Right, all the
north.
remote areas that might not get access to all this.
Now back to the capital, one of the big highlights yesterday, Kun Gov, I have to say that earlier.
Not a good highlight for a lot of people, that's
yesterday,
for sure.
Early in the morning, there has been sharing of a news about the BTS SkyTrain, one of the most popular means of transportation for people here in Bangkok, especially office workers who work in the city, like Sukhumvit area or Silom area.
Where
however,
you cannot find parkings.
yeah, right, of course, and the traffic would be very bad. However, yesterday, it seems that a lot of commuters had experienced very bad difficulties in traveling to work when arriving at the nearest BTS station, and they found that the gate had been closed, with signs telling them to find other means of transportation instead, as the BTS had suspended services due to some technical glitches there, and with that lead to a very chaotic morning for all Bangkok people who regularly travel by SkyTrain. Kun Anat Apapirom, the advisor to the board of directors of Bangkok Mass Transit System, the operator of BTS SkyTrain, told a press conference yesterday that the testing of a platform screen doors at the station's early morning had caused the signal problem, leading to the suspension of the services. Kun Anat said tests on the Silom line were completed earlier, and the BTS began testing the screen door system on the Sukhumvit line when the problem occurred about 3 a.m. and it caused the cancellation of all services from 6 a.m., which is the normal opening hours of the BTS. So when all commuters reached or arrived at the BTS station, they just found that the gate had been shuttered there, and with signs telling them to use other means of transportation instead. And with that, many desperate passengers had to find other means of getting to their destinations or workplace. There were reports of heavy traffic on the roads everywhere here in Bangkok, and a lot of people decided to take the MRT subway system instead. But that caused the congestion at many stations as well, especially at the Chatuchak, which is the terminal station linking the MRT with the BTS. Many people even vented their anger or frustration on Facebook about taking up to 1 hour just to buy the ticket or just to enter the MRT gate. All trains were reportedly overcrowded. However, luckily that the caretaker transport minister Kun Chachat Sutipan had requested additional trains be put in services, as well as more buses on the road to ease congestion. This was the first major breakdown in the BTS in 14 years, and the company said it would bring in the software developers to help improve the system. With that problem, if you have been on the BTS station, there were the glass door that had been barring between the platform and the rail itself
for safety, right?
And a large amount of budget has been allocated for this particular project. The Bombardier Transportation Signals company, which handles the service, had been called in yesterday as well to fix the problem. And they said full services resumed 5 hours later at 11 a.m. However, a little bit afternoon, when a lot of people could get on the BTS SkyTrain, not over 2 hours later, within 2 hours, there were reports of a suspension of the service. Once again, the signal disruption between the portion between Chitlom to Onnut stations. Services had been halted once again. However, the rest of the Sukhumvit line and the Silom line was normally operating. And it was back to normalcy at around 2 p.m. Kun Anat, the BTS officer, said the company would check the signal system once again after the daily service ended at midnight, and all problems were expected to be ironed out before normal operation started at 6 a.m. this morning. He said that BTS had lost about 8 million baht in revenue because of this particular failure, and they had kept informing the commuters via the Facebook page and also the Twitter on an hourly basis with the updates on the situation there.
And of course, in this particular case, I think they are trying to make sure that safety first, because they say that if they cannot detect the signal as in terms of which train is approaching the station, that might create quite a bit of a problem as well.
There had been rumors as well, Kun Gop, circulating that this had something to do with the protesters.
Yeah, I heard. A lot of people thought that the protesters actually closed down the BTS.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the case, just to clear their names there. All right, moving on to a little bit on the political side. At this point, of course, we have the anti-government protesters. We do have the supporters as well. And it seems like there has been a daily announcement in terms of from the red shirt himself, the UDD. Now, yesterday at the Imperial Lad Prao Mall, there has been once again an announcement from Kun Thida Tochirakarn or Kun Thida Thaworn Seth, as well as Kun Somchai Phaiboon and Kun Waravut Wichaidit. These are the core red shirt leaders who actually gotten together and on a daily basis at this point, I believe that they are actually would be there and provide a lot of people with the announcement on their stance. Now, yesterday, Kun Thida said that the fact that there has been a close down or blocking of the venues for all the candidates when they trying to register to contest in this particular general election is just a starting point that's coming in from the anti-government protesters. Kun Thida believed that there would probably be more of a blockdown of various venues in the provinces as the situation would escalate due to the fact that obviously the general election would take place nationwide. So this is just in the capital and it's just a starting point. And she said that this is probably a way of all the public trying to get the military to come out, and of course she's talking about the coup d'etat. However, she said that if the military won't do it, is more chance that Kun Suthep would actually let all the anti-government protesters to become almost the troop themselves to actually overthrow the government. However, at this point, she said that whatever victory that they are claiming at this time for the anti-government protesters is just a short-term run. She said that in the long term, those who actually win would actually be those people who value democracy. Now, Colonel Vitai Suwari, of course, the spokesperson for the army, has to once again came out and said that, well, not to create any situation. Now, General Prayut Chan-o-cha, the army chief, has said time and time again, there will not be any coup. So, once again, they have to come out and express their stance that there will not be any coup, and they say and request that people refrain from saying anything that might instigate violence or conflict within the country, because he said that this is not something that we want. And he also said that to leave the military aside from politics and not to blend it together.
Well, this is one of the things I'm still wondering why a lot of people are still demanding for the military to intervene with this ongoing political conflict.
Or even
here.
kept asking them, would there be any?
Yeah.
And they have to once, time and time again say,
It's really funny.
No, it's not going to be any. And seriously, people in the right mind would know at this time, if you do anything of that sort, you're not going to get popular. It's not going to be like in the old days. That's not what they wanted. So got to be careful of what you say.
And coup d'etat is the least thing that we need right now.
Exactly, and they know that. So, interesting. We might see them talking about this again tomorrow. Who knows?
All right, now talking about the protesters here, there has been a movement of the PDRC further there because earlier Kun Suthep Suban had led a lot of protesters, demonstrators to blocking the entrance of the registration site for the candidacy for the upcoming general election. However, earlier they said that the blockade in front of the site would prolong until the end of next week.
Yeah, they say, or
this week.
This week, yeah, they say 27th.
Yeah.
Right?
However, yesterday, Kun Suthep had already led all the demonstrators back to the Rajadamnern Avenue, the rally site of the PDRC, saying that well, it seems that the situation is getting out of control, and by blocking the registration site, that has already crossed the borderline and making some people that earlier supported them just what is it? Think again with the appropriateness.
It does kind of, raise a suspicions as well as a bad taste in your mouth, you gotta say.
Yeah,
because
that's too much.
Exactly, because you were hoping for something peaceful, but that wasn't really the case.
Yeah, and it seems that Kun Suthep had already detected a lot of negative reactions from the public. Yesterday, he got on the stage at 2:30 p.m. at the Thai-Japan National Stadium at Dindang, where the Election Commission has already opened for the registration of people who want to fill in the candidates of the upcoming election. Kun Suthep said that with the demonstration going on, the blockade of the registration site, they just want to show that they disagree with the upcoming election, just want to send some signals to government, and the Election Commission also raised concern among the public here, and that already succeeded. So it's time to go back to their stronghold. They already moved back to the Rajadamnern Avenue a little bit after 2:30 p.m. And after that, he got on the stage once again saying that there will be another plan on the election date, February the 2nd, that the PDRC protesters will be closing down Bangkok, obstructing the election process.
All right. Well, good to know. Right.
And with that, he already said that a lot of conflict and problems here in Bangkok will end within this next month, January next year.
Okay.
What about the closing down on February the 2nd?
Well,
that's quite contradicting, right?
They probably have a lot more to say because, of course, the Election Commission has a lot more to talk about as well, more meeting. And I think yesterday, Kun Tulip report about one of the PDRC core leaders, Kun Chittapat
Piromphakdi, report said that she would be changing her surname to that of her mother's maiden name. And report said that she had already legally changed her surname from Piromphakdi to Gridakon Na Ayutthaya, her mother's maiden name, already to avoid controversy and criticism against her former surname, the Piromphakdi family,
which is owning the Bunrod Brewery of Singha beer. So at this point, it seems like I said, the politics became a family matters. All right, with that, we're going to take another short break, of course. When we come back, a little bit on the not lucky, but the draws for numbers for all the candidates, how the Election Commission going to deal with that. And Kun Phai has a little bit in terms of the Reform Council that proposed by the government, so please stay tuned.